But here we go. We're making our way towards Miramar for match number 5 on the day. 2 more to go, and let's see where this plane path is headed.
Leave nothing on the line. You have to go for it here if you're one of those teams in contention. Go for those points, find the right moments, and get them dead.
Going over prison, gonna end up in Campo Militar. A lot of drops could be adjusted. A lot of these teams know the fact that they've got to play scrappy as possible. They need to get every point they can possibly muster. But on the other side of that, there could be some teams up towards the top of the leaderboard that might want to try to cancel out some of these teams, deny their chance for Oakland. Everything is in your hands at this point. Can you rise to that moment? Can you just step up when you need to? Because this is the time.
Absolutely. I can't wait to see what these teams are going to do in their drops. Is anybody going to try to mess with some of the other teams? I can see that the Divine team and Red Canids, they're pretty close to each other there over Chumacera. There'll be some skirmishes.
Hacienda, that's going to be the one to watch because 4 a.m. and Lazarus both, they love to drop in this position. Now we're finally seeing them mixed up together, and it's going to be Lazarus that asserts dominance, gets there first, and forces 4 a.m. just a little bit towards the north.
All right, we'll see if there is going to be any battles that erupt over there. There's a couple teams near Power Grid. You've got TSM and Tempo Storm hanging out over there. Ghost Gaming has Picado all to themselves here. So a couple of teams are pretty happy with their setups, and we're just going to keep our eyes on this one, Matchroom.
Oh, Circle pops back down towards the southeast, right on top of Los Leones. But really, notice 4 a.m. These guys they were running and gunning yesterday. They were forced out of their drop, now playing up to the north of where Lazarus is and Hacienda. They're just trying to scrap loot at this point, seeing if they can get anything out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, at this point, 4 a.m. knows they are good to go. It's a matter of if they want to try to mess with other teams or if they just want to try to practice their game, just kind of stay in the flow of things and get ready for next week.
Now, one thing to note, whenever you have a circle that drops in a position like this, a lot of the area around Los Leones, nobody really wants to play in Los Leones Central. It's very dangerous if you have to exit from that position. That's why W-Click is the only ones that are kind of posted up on it. A lot of the other teams right on the edge, such as Ghost Gaming that we're looking at right now, get Picado to themselves, separating out, should have a ton of loot, and don't really have to move too far. But I would say that they don't want to stay on that edge unless they're hunting points. And I got to be honest, if you're Ghost Gaming right now, you're in 19th. You're just within touching distance of making it up into that 16th spot. A couple of kills could be the deciding factor.
It's a difficult decision to make in terms of rotations. Do you want to get on the eastern side of Los Leones? Do you want to try to get on that side? Because if the circle shifts that way and it ends up on that side, you're going to be in a fantastic position to find yourself in one of those 6th, 5th, 4th place spots for sure. But if it shifts west and you have to go back through Los Leones, then you are in a world of trouble.
It's all about that mentality. What's your strategy? It's the big PUBG conundrum. Do I go for placement points, try to go for the center, not have to move much and just kill a few people, or do I play along the edge and just massacre everyone I can and hope somehow I can cut a path to the next safe zone?
I want to talk about this team right here, T1, desperately needing some points. 54 right now for them. They're okay. They're in it if AFF and SST and some of the others below them don't catch up, so they need to get themselves some points. I like the early rotation here. They just need some placement points, get center circle, and try to take advantage of that.
2 games left, and 3 points is the only thing that separates 15th and 16th. You're right, they're in it now, but one bad game for them could be an absolute disaster, and you can tell they know that. They're playing a little bit more aggressive in these earlier games. We've seen them try to pull off a little bit of sneakier moves, but a team that has been absolutely dominant today, QM, these guys have just absolutely showed up. They're running this huge split across a very large territory control that's mostly flat. They're moving up, getting those high ground positions, looking back across it, and this is a very popular rotation point. Could pick up a couple of kills.
Yeah, absolutely. You can see Easy just setting up on that hill, looking over there, probably caught T1 out a little bit there in terms of seeing them. And now we have Vendetta putting some shots into the Red Canids. Rusty Zera trying to drive up the hill. Nothing really connecting there for Critical Motion. He is going to get in his buggy and move along.
Vendetta, it's time to start summoning every Aussie bone in your body. Jump in vehicles, chase every single kill you can find. You need every point you can get at this point. They're in 23rd, so they've got to start going after the hunt. But no, it's FaZe that's under gun from Tempo Storm right now.
All right, Zanpa continuing to spray in with his Scar. He's going to back off now. No real damage done there, just a little bit. Gustav with a bit of a vehicle accident, or did he get shot? I didn't quite catch it in the kill feed there. I think it looks like SR might have caught him out.
So you can see AHQ trying to reposition off this, trying to get another point out of it, but TSM feeling very comfortable right now. Nobody likes to take that early loss, but I mean, they're up at the top of the leaderboards right now, feeling, I would say, pretty confident about going over towards Oakland. So they're not going to cry too much about losing Gustav early.
No, they're pretty much a lock at this point. They are only 4 points behind QM. QM, 4 AM. It has just been all China this weekend, and here we go.
Oh.
Jeff Laka might get the knock on to QM over the hill with that bike. Indeed, he does get the rip. Liga is down.
Everybody is trying to avoid Los Leones right now in these hills just to the east of it. There's a lot of very rough terrain, places that people can hide. There's a lot of little dips. There's these really sneaky high-end angles that you can find. QM finds themselves on the receiving end of that situation. So now, trying to get a little bit of vengeance back. But, I mean, Helen has himself a nice little angle to play off of. Just going to go ahead and retreat back off this. Decides that he's going to lay down and crawl towards the door. Is like, oh, okay, this might be a little bit too hot. And Tempo Storm, is this them on the hunt for FaZe right now? Because we saw them taking a couple of shots earlier.
I mean, it looks like Zampa's in a pretty decent position. That grenade explodes in front of those metal sheets, protecting him from the damage. Now he's going to come around and get a few decent shots into 80. Fuzzface is going to back him off.
Tempo Storm has a couple of members up towards the north. Zampa does go down, and nice shots come out from Uba. They want this. They're going to go ahead and flush that out. Now, 2 other members of Tempo Storm get shot in the back off in the distance. You can see now it is just Maluk. They might have bitten off more they can chew. FaZe seems to be on fire right now. They're containing back Tempo Storm. Maluk's going to try to figure this out. Okay, has a second before the rest of the FaZe members get over here, but it's full on damage control. Did Mixie see it? Looks like Maluk's going to step out and around, go for the shots on the side of it, and Tempo Storm goes down in 16th.
Okay, that's a little bit of life here for FaZe, but they are going to need a ton more. If they have any hope of being one of those 16 teams, they are almost at the absolute bottom. Those kills put them up into second to last place. Fuzzface trying to put a few more shots on a crossing team, but I don't know, man. Two games.
20 more of those. 20 more of those. It's fine. That's all you gotta
Probably
do.
they need to win both games.
Well, they at least need to stack up a ton of kills, and that's a good start for them right now. So, good guy Tempo Storm helping out FaZe there. But you can see Helen is now down. Had a couple of shots come back his direction, but long-range skirmishes shouldn't be too big of a deal. Reses are going to come through, but that is going to be utility burned off.
Yeah, it's not what you want. Helen has struggled a bit here for T1 in this tournament. He's kind of a newer member to the team, so maybe a little of these rookie jitters that we're seeing from him. He's going to need to pick it up, regroup. All of T1 needs a few more points. Every point they get is so important for them right now. 55, they are 10 points behind the Rumblers and Genesis at 65.
Oh, look at this little sneaky crate off to the side of it. Does anybody from Fatal see that? Looks like they might. Like, hey, yeah, we'll go ahead and pick that one up for absolutely free. Gonna get themselves Mark 14, but really it's all about the level 3s.
Yeah, really you want the level 3 gear, giving you that utility, that sustainability that is so crucial, especially as the game goes on. AFF desperately needing some points. They started out really hot today. Since then, things have started to cool down. I want to see them to pick up the pace, and Halo is going to find Adder. Adder, what are you doing out there?
That was a down and easy flush to follow up. Kind of looking back over towards Alo, rough position awareness off of that, but T1 running a very separated split right now. You could see he's kind of by his lonesome. The rest of Lazarus looks like they might be opting to make the push back over here. Alo's just trying to clear out, make sure nobody's hiding inside of any doorways, but I don't think that anybody from T1 can actually come over and support a CAD right now because there's a couple of teams right next to them.
It was a greedy 2-1-1 split here from T1, and they pay the price for it. They can get away with that stuff in the PKL, but here on the big stage, the teams are too good. They aren't going to give you that space that you want.
We were talking about scrappy teams. Let's be honest, HQ. These guys somehow figure out when they lose 3 members to get into like a top 3 position regularly, a lot of their points, they're just kind of death gripping right on that cusp position. But it's off the back of a lot of solo play, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh,
and there's
okay.
FaZe making a late rotation. We're just going to center up right on top of Los Leones and Matchroom. I don't know if you remember, we had a game in PNC that ended up inside of Los Leones, and that was chaos. These teams looking to try to set up around it and try to play the odds. Looks like it's going to go south of Los Leones, but that's not guaranteed.
But here's the thing. Now you have to start taking the gamble. Los Leones is such a huge part of this circle. Do you go ahead and say there's a chance that Los Leones is going to be the finishing point, push in, and then risk not being able to make it back out? Because right now, Los Leones is just fortified. Every team is around that point right now, so even if you manage to make it in, which is so risky, If you have to leave, you are absolutely dead.
Well, what's fascinating is there are two teams that are kind of flirting with moving into Los Leones. WClick has gone basically 2 of their members dead center with a 2-2 split. The other 2 are on the south side. AHQ is set up on the south side. Those 2 might butt heads there if they keep moving towards each other.
Ghost making a little bit of a rotation towards the north of Los Leones. You can see the rough terrain that we were talking about just a second ago. Going to go ahead and opt into regrouping at this stage with 57 alive. You have to be aware. Oh no. Okay, that's fine. It'll right itself. All right, that's everything. I mean, we've seen a couple of car funny moments, but that one comes out okay there. So, all right, Ghost's going to be able to regroup just fine off of this. And again, like I was saying, with 57 alive and everybody trying to avoid Los Leones, this is a smart call. These splits could be very, very hazardous to your health.
Yeah, if possible, you want to be able to rotate around Los Leones depending on where this next circle goes. For sure, you're going to do everything you can to avoid going through the center of it. WClick already made their rotation through it, playing the odds here, expecting this to go south of it, as did AHQ. There's a lot of other teams on this other side, as that is where there's a lot more room inside of this circle, and the circle tends to like to move away from the cities.
So with this, you can see Vendetta looking back over towards Shadow. Contemplating taking those shots, but it's going to be shots coming out from AFF first, but they're out and in the open. Critical Motion gets some damage back over towards NN, but not enough to do a lot. Icon's got a different angle. You can see shots coming back down towards the cars, so it can take out some tires, but really, these guys are after the kills, and there's no clean angles right now.
Look at Style making a very wide flank in a vehicle out to the left here. That could be a really important situation for a Freak of Freaks Fatal. NN and the others need to keep this busy. Try not to get knocked in the process. Let Style get over there and get the damage into Vendetta.
Should be noted that there are only 2 members of Vendetta looking back over towards AFF. That's why they're playing this so cautiously now. They know they need to have big games. They're bottom of the leaderboard right now. They want the kills, but they feel that the risk is just a touch too much. So instead, hop in the vehicles. Looks like they're going to look back over this direction. There is a crate coming down right next to them, but let's be honest, that's a trap. Don't go for it. It's out in the open. That's a good way to die. Just continue on.
Yeah, look, you can see Ragnar was up on the hill overlooking that, seeing if anyone would take the bait, but wisely Vendetta opts to move on. Here is 4 AM, of course, and the Japanese team, the lone survivors from the PJS here. Sun Sister looking, they still have a chance. They're at 45 points. They are still very much in this. They're right on the edge in 17th place.
But they do have 4 AM right next to them. If we know one thing, 4 AM, they're feeling pretty good about their points right now, and they tend to play quite fearless. So we're going to have to keep an eye on seeing if they decide to push in, because Sun Sister now finds 4 AM on one side and QM on the other, and I got to say, that's a scary place to be.
That is, especially today, stuck between 2 Chinese teams is definitely not what you want. And oh my goodness, Matchroom, so much of this circle is Los Leones.
All right, it's go time. You're either playing warehouses, you're playing dips, or you're making the choice to go into Los Leones. The center of it looks like we have Sting Divine that's already decided to hold down that point, and now it's vehicles galore. It's Mad Max time. Everybody's hopping in. They're making their rotations. They know that this is going to be rough. It's going to be Sun Sister that's pushing in first. We did see that Vendetta crossed up and in front of them, trying to make their way into Los Leones as well. But these different points are going to have a lot of different firing angles. And just because you make it by one team, it doesn't mean you'll make it by the second or third after that. So Sun Sister says, nope. This is good enough for us right now. We'll just hold this position.
Yeah, gonna find an edge position here. It's gonna be real interesting to watch Vendetta. They're split up 2-2. They're gonna try to regroup right now. They're sending some members in. There's the 3 surviving members of T1 who are pushing towards WClick's position. WClick has backed up more towards the center of Los Leones, so we could see some real urban combat.
I like this from WClick. They landed here. They had a lot of loot. Instead, decided to regroup onto this. Vendetta's still looking back over towards AHQ right now. They continued their push, so I was a little bit dangerous. They already have 1 member down. Edge is thinking about peeking around that corner, but says, no, okay, this might be a little bit risky right now for it. HQ is running a little bit separated. You can see CC doesn't have good firing angles to really support the other members. So this is turning into a closed-door battle. It's all going to be about peaks and different angles that you can hold. SR feels like he's got an aggressive push that he can get off, so starting to push around the side of it. Milk's trying to get a couple of shots off as well. Edge finding himself in a really rough spot as he gets double peeked and taken down.
Great surround here by AHQ, and I'm pretty sure Milk got some damage in through that thin slit in that truck. That was really impressive shooting there from AHQ. Great job to get that. Vendetta's down to 2 members.
And welcome to Los Leones and why nobody wants to fight there, because around every corner, every angle, every bit of wreckage, there's going to be a guy with a gun ready to kill you. Meanwhile, you can see a Freak of Freaks Fatal looking back over towards GEX. A little bit of a contain going on right now. GEX doesn't have to move too much. We are inside the safe zone, but looks like Fatal really wants his complex.
Fatal needs to take and win this fight so desperately. They have to get away from the angles of 4AM now, who have moved up to the hill. Style has been knocked by Sophia. This could be disaster for them. They need these points so desperately.
Well, really, 4AM is kind of like the referees of this fight right now. You can see that Fatal wanted to make the push. 4AM took the shots, and suddenly it just comes apart. Everybody has to stop in their tracks. They don't want to take the damage from the third party, and now everything kind of resets for just a moment.
Wow, they are just able to get to Style. If they're able to get this res, this could be huge for AFF if they could survive this. But Leo thinking about the frag grenade, opts to not go for it. They are able to get Style back up. That is monumental for a Freak of Freaks Fatal.
All right, so now what are we going to see have happen here? GEX looks like they want to be a little bit more aggressive with that. They do have the high ground. Where are we going? Are we sticking to Los Leones or are we moving to the fields? It looks like we're moving towards the fields off towards the west of this phase in a good position. So now we can see TSM post up right in the middle of this as well as Sting Divine. Now, everybody that opted into Los Leones has to figure out how the hell do we get out of here?
Yeah, now is the real challenge for those teams. You want to get in there. It's relatively safe to get into the cities. It's getting out of them that becomes a huge problem. Now, Chaiwei taking a few parting shots at AFF, but they are quite okay for now. There is a little bit of room for AFF to maneuver on the southern part of the circle, but they might bump into red cannons.
AFF making their push. Nothing too crazy. We do have Sun Sister that's making a long rotation back around behind this, so might find a similar angle as well. A lot of our Los Leones teams almost playing musical chairs. No, that's not how you do a rotation, AFF. You don't rotate your friend's car. Now it's just stuck sitting there. It's going to roll back on that side. No, I'm sorry. I know, Style, you're looking at it in hopes, but that thing's not going to right itself. So now, AFF, you're in the safe zone, but you're on foot with, well, I don't think they could all jump in that truck, but that's not a good call.
You don't know. You could never do that, especially in this late situations with this many teams up. There's no way you're getting further than a couple hundred meters before you're just torn apart.
I don't think that's how you do that either. So does manage to make it down the hillside. But you can see nobody's wanting to really encroach into that area around Los Leones. That's why everybody's moving off towards the edges for it. HQ and a little bit of a skirmish right now with 4AM. Depending on how Milk moves into this, he might find himself with a very nice angle back down on that. Says, no, okay, we're just going to move away. And instead, 4AM they're going to have a lot of cover to play off of, but it's going to make it a little bit more difficult. Sun Sister, here comes their rotation right next to GEX.
Yeah, all right, GEX is putting the shots down in the Sun Sister. Kendes is able to get inside, only takes a little bit of damage there. Kane not able to land many of his shots, and now Shadow is taking shots at Crazy Samus. He is pushing way ahead, but that motorcycle is very on fire. Kendes is gonna go down.
You can see Shyway coming through and cleaning up a couple of shots. Sun Sister can try to continue this rotation through, but it's just bullets crisscrossing all over the place. Eva's got to be very careful off of it. I think they're finally going to break the angle away from a Freak of Freaks Fatal, but Freak of Freaks Fatal find themselves having shots coming at them from the red Canids.
Yeah, the Canids give Sun Sisters just a little bit of breathing room for now, but so far this is disaster for Sun Sister. They need more points. They need as many as they can get, and they're already down to 2 members. You don't want to be in that situation right now with 4 members strong of the Freak of Freaks Fatal on your right and the red Canids in front of you.
Very often we see teams go, okay, I'm down to 2. I need to play for points. I need to play passive. You can't do that, Sun Sister, right now. You still have to play aggro, even not having the numbers at this point. T1 making a push back along this hillside. QM's back down on the other side of the street, so should have a little bit more space onto it. The hill's going to block this out. So now a lot of our teams have managed to shift around, kind of playing musical chairs through the buildings of Los Leones. Not a lot of big skirmishes, but I would have to say very good rotation from those teams that are inside of a very dangerous position to at least get a couple of buildings right on the edge of the safe zone.
Yeah, the good news for QM, if SK Telecom comes out onto this hill, a lot of teams could see them up there, so this rotation should be relatively safe. They've got a little bit of room to work with. T1 might come up behind this now, actually. Helen was hearing the footsteps. You could see him kind of watching the direction of the movement of QM, and now he's actually going to push out there. This might be a little bit risky for Helen, but actually it doesn't look like anybody's really looking this way.
Where's the circle going to go when it's making its way back up towards the north? Going to favor those teams that were stuck right on the edge of Los Leones. So now, a little bit of a skirmish starting to break out as T1 is looking back towards QM. They know that they need to make their way just a little bit further forward. They need to get it down. They need to get something out of this so that way they can complete their push. But QM, I gotta say, I like the way that they're holding these different angles, trying to expect somebody to push back down that hillside because, I mean, at this point, the Blues back behind them. They can choose to rotate back around through that, but there's not a lot of places really that T1 can go.
All right, let's see what Akkad can do with this M24. No,
Nothing.
He's gonna take some shots from Nicky. This is what I was talking about. Up on this hill is so exposed, you have to either get down or do something else because you're gonna get torn apart up there.
Meanwhile, 4AM still just trying to figure out how to cut through AHQ. AHQ is just holding the line. This is what I want to see, CC. Get up in a sneaky little spot, sneak up on top of him. Nobody would expect that position. Way less just trying to move back away from it, being forced back over here next to CC. He could have a great grenade. Depending on how the angle for this goes, it's going to bounce at least once, roll down to the face, but not quite far enough.
It does damage way less quite a bit, but it isn't going to get any knocks. Counter grenades coming up and over. Yan Lee gets knocked as well here. Some nice shooting from way less. Good positioning there. It is only one member standing for AHQ.
HQ, they had the line, but now it's just SR. He's holding a different angle, and it looks like 4AM know exactly where he's at. He's going to have to move, but 4AM, these guys have just been on a roll yesterday, a little bit slower today, but Helen realizes, okay, we can't make the push back down on that angle, so just going to have to run back through a very populated remnants of Los Leones that are still inside the circle.
That was too indecisive by T1. They either needed to get down that hill. Oh, SR is going to get found out, though, and he is going to go down. That is disaster for AHQ. They're right on 16th spot. That opens the door for another team to leapfrog them.
All right, 4AM, you managed to get down one team, but guess what? W-Click is now posted up right past that, and you're still going to have to continue along this path. High ground positioning coming up from W-Click right now, so you can see Rez actually going to come back for T1. That's going to be big, get them back up to 2 at the time. I gotta say, it's starting to get really heavy on that eastern part of the circle. We've got right now 4 teams all roughly pushing to a similar location, and that's gonna be a strong push coming out from 4AM. One of the members for W-Click is already down, but also one of the members of 4AM is down as well.
All right, ZGG, he's pushing in on the bottom, takes some damage from a grenade. Decent grenades coming out from W-Click as they want to hold 4AM's push off, give themselves a few more points, although they're pretty well secured in this, so this could be a battle for just some pride more than anything else.
With the amount of fans and the rooting that happens for 4AM every single time they get a kill, they are never going to be satisfied. They're going to continue that push every single time. So now, W-Click forced up towards the top. New circle has popped. You can see still just sitting back over towards the center. Ghost Gaming right in the middle of it, and they need a big game. But the problem is, I don't think that they're getting a lot of kills based off this position.
Yeah, they really need to secure a few more kills with that position. They control so much of that circle, but oh no, Harold gonna come in, finish off way less. A nice push by him, and this is good for Lat AM right now.
We do have Sun Sister, the remnants of it, still looking back, trying to find a couple more kills. Does get it down back over towards one of the phase members at Red Canids, was looking back along that similar path. But look, Sun Sister's starting to see a lot of down people next to him. That's potential points, but has to survive. There's a lot of aggression coming back towards Flychan's way.
I mean, there's a lot of knocks coming in from the Sun Sisters. They're just not able to confirm the kills. There's buildings and other things. Let's go, Fiat-chan. This is the tournament on the line for your team. Get up there, rock some faces.
Oh no, that is not what you need to do right now. 0 kills, 10 teams still remaining, so not a good position if he goes out at this stage. Jeff Laka looking back over towards Vendetta, trying to figure out if he's going to take the shots off of it. I cannot believe Vendetta did not see him back over towards that angle. Fight-chan's taking a little bit of damage. Throws out the grenade, but it is going to go down, so Sun Sister eliminated in 10th.
Sun Sister still has one more game. They're still in it. 45 points for them. No doubt they could come back. The Canids looks like they're going to get all of their members potentially back up if they can get out to Andy FPS. He is bleeding out, but yeah.
That's too risky. And Jeff Locke is like, okay, well, I got to try to avoid that. That Molotov in that angle is going to be huge. The Blues back behind him. There's nowhere to go. Bye, Jeff. You're down and out. And SK Telecom T1 goes out in 9.
Yep, they don't even get placement points off of that. That is disaster for T1 as well. They were really looking to secure some more points. Tried to, for sure, be one of those 16 teams. Here comes Psycho up over the hill. 4 members of Sting Divine are inside of here, but they're going to back him off with some nice shots, and he is down at 22 health.
Rusty Zero's back behind him, but they don't have the numbers. They have the aggression. They know where they want to go, but there's so many members of Sting Divine still alive, and this is a dangerous push. A couple of teams do have an angle back down towards this right now, so a couple of grenades coming up in defense from Sting Divine. There's no opening right now for Red Canids, and that's going to be Psycho going down. Now it is all just onto Rusty Zera. Nicky's got the angle back over towards him, but look, Lazarus is starting to make a push back out into this position. They're on the hunt for some kills themselves.
It's Luke 12 basically by himself over here, coming up on the flank of Rusty Zera. A good grenade from Turtle is going to end the Red Canids round.
Meanwhile, Sting Divine did have 2 get knocked in this, so having to retreat back, try to get those reses back up. Look at this aggressive play coming out from Lazarus. They're separated on so many different points. That's Ghost right in the middle with so much control. Meanwhile, 2 members of Lazarus, Purdy Curdy running across the road by himself, and Luke is just looking back towards Sting Divine like, yeah, maybe I could kill them.
Lazarus is playing with absolutely no fear right now. They are spread out all over this circle. They want to gobble up all the points they can. This is like hungry hippos right now.
But let's not forget, we do have QM still up towards the north of this as well. Purdy Curdy gets it down onto Shrims. He tries to get the grenade up. It goes a little bit short, so that could be a res coming back. But I feel like Ghost is starting to realize they're getting surrounded, and we've seen Lazarus do this quite a bit. They can kind of breach a building in a way that so many other teams can't. They just dismantle you slowly and steadily, but they have to get there first. That's another down coming back as Purdy Curdy did get knocked. Shrimsy's right on the edge of the flames, just barely clinging to life, trying to get the meds up.
It's a nice attempt with that Molotov, but there's just enough room for Shrimsy. I actually really like the greed here from Ghost Gaming. This is a big 2-2 split. If they can make this work, they will clean up a ton of points.
And they desperately need them right now. They need to climb up that leaderboard. They have the position, but they have Lazarus and QM knocking at the door, and it is so cautious. They only have 1 kill. They know that they need way more kill points than this right now. Uncivil's got an angle back towards Sting Divine, taking a couple of shots at them. Meanwhile, we can see Vendetta still slowly encroaching around the east.
There are so many teams bunched up underneath that 16th spot. 2 of them still in it. Ghost Gaming and Sting Divine want to win this. They want everything they can get, and it is going to be a tough slog ahead for Sting Divine. They've got a road to cross. They've got some smokes, but Lazarus has the angle on the bottom. There's some Vendetta members up on the top.
Lazarus is just carving out more and more of the map. Look at the stranglehold that they're taking back down towards the south. They know where Sting Divine is. Now moving in, getting a little bit more control over it. Sting Divine's trying to walk up, but Purdy Curdy has the angle. That's a down and a flush onto Jet. And now Turtle's like, I can't even go on that path. Where do I go? Which angle is open? He needs to get it down if he wants to continue, but does see Halo. Gets a couple of shots, but doesn't get him down.
Oh, Turtle has to make those shots work. Missing that is going to be disastrous. He takes a ton of damage from a grenade. He is almost down. He is the last surviving member of Sting Divine. They desperately need him to get some more points.
We do have an aggressive 2-2 split coming up from Ghost as well. QM is starting to cut a path in between it. Vendetta's looking back down towards Sting Divine. Got Luke 12 looking back up towards his Aussie friends, thinking about taking a couple of shots.
They're going to take their licks here, but Lazarus is doing a great job maintaining this position. They're beat up, but they're holding it together. This is a masterclass in positioning. Purdy, Curdy, and Luke up here on the flank, and they're holding down that warehouse, which is still just ever so slightly in the circle, but we're going to have 5 teams match them in phasing.
It requires such good communication whenever you're making these aggressive split plays. Really, you've got Alo back towards the back, calling out, okay, this is where they're moving. This is how you go. And these guys, instead of sitting in buildings, waiting to see if somebody walks in front of them, making pushes around all over the place. McCoy, rest of Ghost, starting to find themselves under even more fire. Critical motion, slowly creeping up on this. I don't think that Ghost is aware 2 of their members are stacked up in this complex. He's just slowly creeping his way in with the smokes out, with the meds going off. I think McCoy might have finally heard it, but we do have another member from Vendetta out on the outside of this watching.
Oh.
Vegas has got to be very careful with these peaks. I like the way Vendetta's playing this, trying to lean on the outside, draw them out, make them peak. Maybe they can get it down off of it, but it's going to be just a continuation as we see. Up on top, McCoy gets the angle, gets the down onto it, so now 1 member of Vendetta is up. Ghost is looking around onto this, but it's going to be a shot coming out from Lazarus that drops down Vegas.
Shrimsy is trying to get in there and cover some of his Ghost teammates. Vegas has been knocked by some long-distance fire from Lazarus. McCoy now as well, trying to put some pressure on, but the circle is on top of him, and this one hurts so bad. I don't think he has enough time for this first aid kit.
He's down and out right now, but keep in mind, while all of this is going on between Vendetta, Lazarus, Ghost Gaming, QM is just hiding out. They just keep sneaking into a new position, and they're waiting to pounce.
I mean, this is a really interesting play from QM. We've seen them be ultra aggressive today. Now they're just going to wait it out and see what they can do here at the end of the game. Really smart stuff from them, and critical motion. He's doing everything he can here for Vendetta. He's going to have to be an absolute hero. He's even going to throw that pan. He throws the pan just in desperation.
Maybe it'll work. Maybe I'll get it down. I'll get something out of it. Alo looks like he's finally spied out QM, but it's going to be a push on the side of this. That's going to be Ghost that gets it down and a flush onto him. Vendetta is now spotted over QM, and it's going to be QM that takes them down. So now, 3 teams, 8 alive, and we can see Lazarus still continuing their rotations, their hunt right now with 9 kills. Ghost still firmly defended up in this position. Only 2 players alive, and QM starting to be a little bit more aggressive as well.
This is such a weird position for Ghost Gaming to be in. Yes, they have a closer position to the center of the circle, but all Shrimzy has to work with is that one door to see Lazarus Gaming. This is so challenging for him. He might have to bop outside of the building, but Shrimzy does get Wu Fang.
That's going to be huge. That's going to slow down QM. It's so important right now. That's going to be a return shot coming out from QM. They have 1 member, but trying to get the shots over towards it. Purdy Curdy's going for the spray onto it, but can't quite get him down. Lazarus starting to realize, okay, we need to start getting more control towards the center. QM wants to go for the res, but realizes it's a little bit too risky. Ghost gets their res back up, and it's just continuing to shrink down. QM pushes up into Ghost, gets the down off of this. Shrimzy's just waiting. He gets taken down. QM is still alive, but Lazarus is looking back. They heard the fight.
Shrimzy with the absolute worst time to try to pull out the grenade, and it's going to be easy with the sneaky push. He is the one who collapses onto Ghost Gaming and wipes them from the face of the earth. Now it is just 3 members of Lazarus versus Easy. He goes down. Lazarus takes the chicken dinner.
Another victory coming up for Lazarus.